The vibrato module is found in PlayView, and it's like a permanent dedicated LFO that's set to a sine wave and set to modulate pitch. It's hardwired to it, and it's separate from the LFO that we find on the edit page. Now, we can use the rate knob to set the frequency or the speed of the pitch oscillation that it's going to generate. And this emulates a string player moving their finger on the string to create some slight pitch variations. So the rate determines how fast those variations are, and the amount knob allows us to dial up the depth or the amount of the pitch oscillations. We have a delay knob over here, which allows us to delay the onset of the vibrato effect, meaning we can have the pure note sound until it reaches a certain number of milliseconds, and then the vibrato will kick in. And we can also fade up the vibrato to ramp it up to the amount that we have set on the amount knob. So instead of it coming in right away, it can gradually ramp up. So we can get nice subtle nuances with this. And we also have a dedicated modulation source here, the mod wheel. We can dial up here to have the mod wheel influence the amount. So it's kind of like a secondary modulation. We set the maximum here, and then the mod wheel can dial us up to that amount. So we get nice performance gestures with the control. Now I'm going to play you a nice sort of long string melody I have here with no vibrato. So we can start by dialing up some amount and a nice sort of modest rate, and we'll get a natural, subtle kind of sounding pitch oscillation. So that's pretty natural and musical. Now, of course, we can play with the rate and the amount and get some more dramatic effects. Now, let's say I wanted a relatively modest amount, kind of like that, and let's delay the onset by dialing this up. So by doing that, the shorter notes are barely getting any of the pitch oscillations since they don't last long enough, and therefore the vibrato effect is affecting mainly the long notes, which is also a nice kind of approach to using this in a subtle way. Let's try fading some of it up to add it even more subtle sort of nuance to how it comes in. Now let's dial up some mod wheel. I'm just going to dial up a bit, and as I move the mod wheel on my keyboard, you'll see it move over here, and we can influence it as the notes are playing. So that works really nicely. I'm going to dial up a bit more of a dramatic amount, and then we can really influence it with the mod wheel. So that's really nice with the delay, because as I dial the mod wheel up, it's still getting a little bit of an offset from this. But when we dial this down, and I'll leave a bit of fade, just so it's not a straight on or off, we can really control it completely from the mod wheel. So we can have the vibrato actually fade up and down during long notes. Let me dial this up a bit more and a bit more depth there. And as we dial more mod wheel modulation up, we can get a wider range of expression. So you can really control it and get a real kind of performance aspect to it. So that's the vibrato section, again, thought of as a dedicated LFO to modulate pitch.